Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this webinar. My name is Francesca, and I'm the Program Manager for the GU Impacts program.
And my name is Alouette Dang, and I am a past GU Impacts Fellow for this past summer.
Hi, everyone. My name is Joy, and I'm also a past 2019 GU Impacts Fellow.
So thank you for joining us for this webinar. We wanted to start off by just saying that GU Impacts is under the Beeck Center for Social Impact and Innovation. We're located in the ICC 100 space and are underneath the Provost office, so we're open for all students to get involved with our work, and we're going to go over specifically the GU Impacts program and how you can be a participant. So GU Impacts is an experiential fellowship program. It's often misconstrued as a summer internship experience, but it's much more robust. It is a 7-month-long fellowship where you learn from the Beeck Center about social impact, and then you get to experience working in social impact over the summer with one of our partners. So the GU Impacts program has been around for 6 years already, and we've done a lot of great work for students. We have 142 alumni, and we really help students get their hard and soft skills, or as I like to call them, technical and behavioral skills. You learn a lot about yourself through this experience, in reflection, discernment, self-awareness, as well as technical work skills such as data analysis, research, and financial modeling. We've partnered with many organizations across the world, and all of our partners are cross-sectoral. So we have corporate representatives as well as NGOs and nonprofits. Our partners all work in social impact, but various issue areas. So there's something for everybody, whether you're interested in women or youth empowerment, ecotourism, sustainability, or broader community development. You can find that here. So at the Beeck Center, we use the LEAP framework as a way of approaching how we interact with students. LEAP stands for Learn, Explore, Act, and Partner, and you get to work in all of these sectors through the GU Impacts program. Like I mentioned, the program is 7 months long, so we start in March with orientation, workshops, and cultural programming to get to know the country where you're going to be over the summer. As you can see on the slide, the implementation is your summer project, and that's dipping into both exploring the social impact space and acting in social impact. You have project deliverables for the partners, and also do discernment and reflection through a Slack platform with the rest of the cohort. I know that the slide is a straight arrow, but I think of it more of a circle. When you come back, we do another orientation, or as I like to call, de-orientation day, where you really reflect on your experience, what was the most impactful part of your experience, and what that means for you to continue your social impact journey. Like Lula and Joy, we have a lot of alumni engagement opportunities where we will help you guide through your next steps in your social impact career journey, and hopefully as more students become alumni, they can be future partners as well. So there's a lot of experiential learning opportunities here at Georgetown, but we think GU Impacts is a little bit different. We really value cross-disciplinary learning. So like I mentioned, our partners are from all different sectors, and we also have a social impact approach and methodology that we teach students beforehand on what social impact at scale means and how it can be done in the workplace. We also focus on the organization that you work with over the summer. We like to apply an organizational lens so students can really understand how their classroom learning can be applied in the real workspace. Additionally, these summer experiences are pretty independent. Students don't go with a faculty or staff member. They only go with 1 to 4 other GU Impact fellows, so other students. But you have a balance of support from the Beeck Center through Slack and WhatsApp, while you get the independence of, living with just some students and going to work every day. So like I mentioned, we believe social impact is universal, and we show that by having partners in various locations. I do want to note that this map is from the previous year, and 2 of these partners are not continuing for this next year. Every year we reassess our partnerships and want to make sure that the relationship is really mutually beneficial. So we really value students learning and doing social impact projects. But if that's not the top priority for the organization at the time, then we want to make sure that we're, making sure that everyone has a good experience. Our partnerships are built to make sure that we have diversity in sector, location, issue area. Like I mentioned, we want to make sure that it is related to social impact, and our methodology is social impact at scale. And we meet partners through connections or through like-minded conferences. At the end of every year, we speak with the students one-on-one when they return to talk through the positives and any changes that could be made at an organizational level. And then we debrief with our partners as well to make sure that any changes students mention can be implemented so that our partners are all on the same page year by year. So here's our timeline for GU Impacts. I split it up really into two sections, recruitment and selection, and then the actual program. So right now we're in November, and the application opens on Friday, November 22nd. We'll go over a little bit of those requirements right now. The interview process will happen from mid-January to the end of February. There is a in-person interview that you do with me and other Beeck Center staff members. And then the second round interview is directly with your partner, who ultimately decides which students they would like to bring on for the summer. We aim to have offer letters out by the end of February, so you can mark that on your calendar as the time you'll know if you've gotten a fellowship or not. Once you get accepted, the 7-month program is laid out for you. There's orientation while you're still on campus. The program will be 10 to 12 weeks over the summer, so you should really make sure that your summer is blocked off for the GU Impacts experience. And then when you return in August and September, we have some de-orientation and next step planning with you. So requirements for the fellowship. It's open for all students unless you're graduating in this spring 2020 semester. If you're not graduating until fall 2020, then you are still eligible. It doesn't matter which school you're under or what your major is. It's open to anybody because social impact can be done in any workspace. You do have to be present on campus spring semester. So if you're planning to study abroad this spring 2020, then you unfortunately won't be eligible. And like I mentioned, you have to be available for the full summer. This is your summer commitment. Once you're accepted, you can expect to spend roughly, I would say, 2 to 5 hours per week on GU Impacts during the spring semester. You get a weekly newsletter with things such as visa, applying for fundraising, booking your flights, and then those workshops and orientations that I mentioned before. You will be required to reflect with us throughout the summer. Last year we did a Slack platform so that the alumni could speak to each other and compare their experiences from different places and different sectors. And you'll also be required to submit a blog or video at the end or during your summer. Once you're alumni, it's up to you how involved you want to be, but there are multiple opportunities for you to be involved in recruitment, come to lunch with the next cohort, mentorship, and hopefully some more alumni engagement with the Beeck Center more widely. So I often get asked, what are my chances? And as you can see, there's a chat box on this video. So if you have any questions, you can start submitting them in there and we'll address it at the end. But people often ask what your chances are, so I just wanted to put the statistics out there. It is a competitive program, and I would say a third of applicants get accepted, but this shouldn't dissuade anyone from applying, and if you've applied in previous years, you should definitely not be discouraged to apply again. Like I mentioned, applications are opening this Friday, so you can already be prepared to submit your application by talking to your academic advising dean, who you will have to list as a reference. You can optionally list a second reference, whether it's academic or professional. You'll need your resume in a PDF format, and then you'll need to get your unofficial transcript as well. So make sure that you have all of those things ready to go. And it is one application, so students often ask because there's multiple partners over the summer. On the application, you'll have a list of all the partners, and the first question will ask for you to check a box next to all the partners you're interested in, and then you'll get to rank your top 3 preferences of a partner. In that first round interview, we'll talk through your top choices, and I'll get a better sense of, maybe you think that you really like to go to Mendeshi, but based off your interests and your interest in entrepreneurship, I think that maybe you're a better fit for CCI, and we'll just talk through all of that in your interview round. You can be sent to do a second round interview with multiple partners. So that's just something to be aware of, but ultimately you don't get the final choice of which partner you want to apply for, since it's a more holistic fellowship experience. So going over the funding, I like to think of this opportunity as net zero. So students shouldn't expect to put any of their own money in, but they also shouldn't expect to have any money at the end of their summer. So most of the programs cost between $5,000 and $7,000, and this is for the summer implementation. And once you are accepted, the Beeck Center will provide you with a list of how to apply around campus and other tips of where to look for funding. Most of your funding will come through your school directly, and we've had great support from SFS College and the MSB in previous years. So we'll guide you through all of that. The Beeck Center covers all operational costs, including any on and offboarding activities, as well as if you are unable to raise the full fund. So if your project costs $6,000, but you're only able to fundraise for $5,000, then the Beeck Center will cover the extra $1,000 for your summer. But you should be prepared to budget throughout the summer. So I want to hand it over to our alumni because no one can speak better to the experience than them. We're going to start with Lula.
Hi, everyone. So this past summer, I was working with Akazi Kanoze Access, one of our GU Impacts partners. And a little bit about me, I'm in the MSB. I'm currently a junior. I'm double majoring in finance, international business, and I'm double minoring in creative writing and entrepreneurship. So I've always had an interest in just working in the social impact realm regarding entrepreneurship and then also innovation. And my work at Akazi Kanoze this summer really helped me explore those like academic and professional interests. The scope of my work included storytelling, working on communications materials such as creating newsletters, writing success stories, and then I also did some of my personal interest, but that was still in line with what I was doing. So I looked at some microfinance initiatives in regards to NGOs and in particularly at Akazi Kanoze. And I would say that after my GU Impacts Fellowship, I gained a deeper desire and also understanding of social innovation and development. And it's really positively impacted me to want to go forward and continue that route.
Joy? Yeah, of course. Hi, everyone. My name is Joy, and I'm a junior in SFS, majoring in international politics and minoring in international development in German. And this summer, I spent 10 weeks in Sarajevo, Bosnia and Herzegovina, working for Women for Women International or Žene za žene International. Women for Women International is an international women's empowerment nonprofit that's been helping women negatively impacted by Bosnian War since the 1990s. And Žene za žene itself localized in 2012 as Bosnia and Herzegovina became a peaceful democracy and began to focus its programs more on investing in women's civic participation and more community-based development projects. And so this summer, I primarily worked on fundraising, marketing, and storytelling for Žene za žene. On the fundraising side, I helped with grant writing, meeting with international organization representative and government representatives, and do some research on the financial infrastructure on the Balkans and in the greater Eastern European area that can help lower the cost of the transaction of donation money. And I also created an Indiegogo fundraising page for Genesis Agenda to not only be able to accept donations from a wide range of international donors, but be able to give out some really beautiful handmade Bosnian rugs made by the women's beneficiaries to international donors. And on the marketing and storytelling side, my partner Grace and I interviewed and collected testimonies of 20 women participants of Genesis Agenda's annual Democracy Academy for Young Women. And based on those testimonies, I initiated a social media campaign called Her Story, featuring their collages, stories, and inspiring quotes. So what I would say is really special about GEO Impacts is that it's really its integrated learning component. So you will really be able to apply the things and theories that you will learn in the orientation program into your specific project during the summer implementation process. For example, for me, what was really helpful was the strategic communications workshop that we did with one of Beeck's fellows in residence, and he told us a lot about why today's international donor community really value firsthand testimonies over those pure advertising of nonprofits themselves in terms of deciding what projects to fund. So that kind of inspired my idea of combining the storytelling component of my project with the fundraising and marketing side. So that was really the beginning of my project. And I would say what was also very unique about the GEO Impacts experience is really the Georgetown's global network. So you will be able to communicate with the past fellows and really build upon their projects so that we can really create a sustainable Georgetown impact in this specific location. And also you will be able to meet with faculty members and research in the area, or even meet with international students, alumni. For example, for me, I've grabbed dinner at one of the Georgetown Bosnian students' favorite restaurants in Sarajevo during the summer. And it was just a really nice experience and sweet connection to have when I was abroad with only one other Georgetown student. And also lastly, I'd say what was really great about my GEO Impact experience is really the reflection process after the summer implementation and how that really contributed to my personal growth. So I think the Beeck Center really values the de-orientation program because it can really help us to internalize the memories and stories that we kind of accumulated during the summer into concrete takeaways and personal working ethics for the future. So during the debriefing process with Francesca, I got to reflect on many of the organizational aspects and leadership styles I experienced in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and that really helped me to understand the growth mindset that's really necessary for today's nonprofit sector. And during the de-orientation project, we reflected a lot on our own reactions and actions during the summer, and that really helped me realize that as a young social impact leader myself, I'm actually gaining a lot of discernment and empathetic problem solving skills that I didn't realize in the past. And also GEO Impacts will enable you to really bring the impact back on campus in Georgetown. So in Bosnia, a lot of people told me that they really want the world to hear the voices and to really bear witness for the tragedies that happened in the 1990s on the Balkans. And so during the Expo Day of GEO Impacts and many presentation opportunities, I got to really mingle with the Georgetown community and motivate more people to bear witness for the Bosnian people. And I even met an alumni who has worked in Albania for 4 years. And we just talked really happily about our passion for the Balkans. And the Beeck Center really give you a lot of career planning sessions and networking opportunities for you to really craft your GEO Impact experience and summer internship experience so that you can better present it to employers and people you're interested to network with as you move on into your own personal development journey. So that's pretty much about it.
Great. Thank you so much. So these are just two of our alumni. Like you saw on the previous slide, we have 142. Many of them are still on campus, and we are currently revamping our website. And if you're signed up onto our Impacts Interest form, you'll be able to get an email from me with the alumni on campus. I really encourage you to speak with alumni from specific partners you might be interested in or ones with similar majors to you to get an understanding of if this might be the right fit for you. Additionally, the application will open Friday, so if you're signed up on this interest form, we'll send you reminders with that. And a lot of students, because it's open no matter which class level or grade you're in, Some people wonder like when is the right time to apply. Most students do it after their sophomore year, but we do have freshmen and juniors, and it's all about just like your readiness level. So after Thanksgiving break, I'll be having open office hours for students to come in if they have any questions and want to talk through anything before starting their application. I do want to open it up for any Q&A, which Celine will be telling us of the questions.
Francesca, it looks like there is a question from Orion here, and it asks, do I get credit for this fellowship?
So that's a great question. GU Impacts is currently not a accredited fellowship option. However, there is the opportunity to get credit by tagging it along with an intersections course. So intersections is run through the CSJ, and it's an online 1 credit summer opportunity where you do a lot of reflection and get to learn about specific community development. Anyone who takes that course is doing some kind of on-the-ground experience work. So it's a great opportunity if you want to add some credit over the summer.
So again, the question that Francesca just answered was, do I get credit for this fellowship? The next question is from Sarah, and she says, you mentioned that it is a net zero fellowship. Have fellows in the past worked outside of their fellowship over the summer to make some extra cash?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Because the fellowship is a 40-hour like work week commitment, it's hard to get additional cash flow, and depending on which 10 weeks your project is assigned for, you might not have enough time before or after to get a second job. You could get creative about how you get some extra funding if you do like online tutoring or have something that you can commit some hours to. It is on an individual basis, and we would recommend speaking with the Colley Center or someone else to see how that could be possible. But typically students don't have a second opportunity for income.
Perfect. This question is from Araft, and I'm sorry if I messed that up, but it asks, does the secondary reference have to be a teacher? Are they writing a recommendation, or is it just a reference that the center will contact during the application process?
That's a great question. Thank you. So the second reference, it can be academic or professional. We understand, especially with like maybe freshmen or grad students, that they don't have a working relationship with an academic, but they have done an internship before. So it's up to you who you would like to list. Last year, we had students list 2 references. I personally didn't contact any of the references last year, even though you do give their email and phone number. But it is helpful for us to have in case we're having trouble narrowing down our applicant pool, then we will contact them for some additional feedback.
So do you usually let that person know if you're going to reach out to their contacts, or is it just as long as you get their contacts, there is a possibility of reaching out to them?
Yeah, so you should definitely let your contacts know that you're listing them as a reference. I will not let you know in advance if I contact them.
Sounds good. So this is a question for Lula and Joy from Zane, and he is asking, are there language barriers to any of the places that you were fellowshipping?
Living.
Yeah. I guess I can go first. So definitely. So myself, speaking to my own experience, I was in Rwanda, and so the national language there is Kinyarwanda. I don't speak Kinyarwanda or French, so that was a little bit difficult to navigate, but I just really took the initiative to kind of try to understand, but then also like not getting too down on myself if I didn't understand things, because also the people at my organization spoke English, but they also were translating in specific settings so that it would make the internship go a little bit more smoothly. Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, the situation is very similar. Mm-hmm. So I was in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and the local language there is Bosnian, or technically Serbo-Croatian. So there's no way even for me to learn that in Georgetown. And also Bosnia is actually not part of the EU, so the English education was actually not very prevalent in the Balkans. But for me, it was not a huge barrier, because in the nonprofit sector today, a lot of organizations actually rely a lot on international funding. So the staff member are most of the time pretty much fluent in English. But in my office, I indeed encountered some difficulties when I had trouble translating certain things or communicate with certain members of participants effectively. But I'd say in places where English is not the major language, or you really don't have the language skills, your English skills can actually be an extra asset, because a lot of the times the organizations and social enterprises will actually be look up to you for your English skills to help them with grant writing, with communications with, for example, the American Embassy, the Canadian Embassy, or any other European embassies. So I would say don't stress out about that too much. And also there are a lot of great learning opportunities when you're in a foreign country. For example, my partner Grace, another GMPACS fellow who worked with me in Bosnia in the summer, she did a very intensive language training program, and from 5 to 8 p.m. every single day for 3 weeks. And at the end of the 10 weeks, she was pretty much fluent in Bosnian. And in the office, I also learned pretty much most of the useful terms I would need for a day-to-day basis. So I would say it's also a very great learning opportunity in terms of languages.
So going off of that question, how did you find housing?
So I could go first. So going, it's having alumni, just also speaking with them is really helpful, just so that you can see what we did was that we got contacts from Rwanda, and then also from the alumni themselves, and saw where they lived and their recommendations. And then also the Beeck Center helped with helping us find possible housing options. And then it was ultimately up to the fellows to select which opportunity presented to them. For us, it was important that we stay together as a cohort. So that's how we went about finding housing, and then trying to basically come up with affordable options, because we are students. And really it's important not to because yes, you create a budget before going, but you want to make sure that while you're there, you're able to budget accordingly. So if you spend a lot of money on housing and stuff, that could mess with your budgeting in the future. And then also, while I was there, a good learning opportunity that I came across is that in a lot of these different countries, or different places where there's a lot of people doing work, there are Facebook groups where people are listing possible housing options. So just if you're going to do that, making sure that you contact Francesca and stuff like that. Yeah.
So going off from that, I would also say that definitely make full use of the Georgetown network to help you find housing. So for me and Grace, we communicate really closely with the two fellows from 2018, and they recommended a lot of Facebook groups for us to go in and ask general information about housing and see whether there are any houses or apartments that we wanted that would be available during the summer. And also we met with 2 Georgetown faculty members who connected us with their previous landlords or even relatives and close families in Sarajevo. And we just had a lot of housing options because of this. At the end, Grace found a really nice apartment that was affordable to us. And it was actually right next to the bridge where Ferdinand was assassinated and where the First World War was started. So it was actually a quite amazing experience that we found an apartment near this kind of historically significant place. So I would say it won't be a very stressful or hard process just because of the Georgetown network and the Beeck Center network.
Definitely. And some of our partners, such as Mandeshi and El Nido, actually provide housing for you, so you don't need to look. And then other places, such as Kunde in Kazakhstan and CCI, you typically do dorm housing because it's very close to the universities, but you should expect to live with the rest of your cohort members. And like they mentioned, we'll help guide you through all of that as well.
So this question is from Victoria to the 2 fellows. She wanted to know, you spoke on the positive side of the experience, but what was your biggest challenge during this experience, and how did you overcome it?
It's such a good question. I would say for me, it was definitely the working culture, because Bosnia is in Eastern Europe, and as an Asian woman myself, I really had trouble kind of envisioning whether I would be going into more of a Western context in terms of working ethics and working cultures, or more of the Eastern one, because the Balkans is kind of so in the middle of everything. So I kind of went expecting that it will be more Western, but then I realized that actually in the office, even though there were only 4 women in the office, the hierarchical culture and a lot of the subtle aspects to it actually took me 2 or 3 weeks to fully adapt and be aware of. But I would say this ended up not becoming the biggest challenge, but actually a great thing that I got to experience, because communication is all it matters. The great thing about this fellowship is that most of the social enterprise and the organizations that we work with are very small. So you would actually be able to communicate with people at all levels on a hierarchical structure. And as long as you communicate your expectations and their expectations to you very, very closely and effectively, I would say it will be a very interesting and nice experience to really be exposed to a different working culture and build upon your own, I would say, office administrative skills.
Yeah. And just to like pick up from like the difference in working cultures, I also think there's a difference in like sector work also. Like the nonprofit world / social impact world is different from like, say, if you're working in a more corporate setting. So like as an intern, you may like wear different hats, and like being able to be flexible / versatile is something that I learned while doing my internship over the summer. I learned a lot about like how to really utilize and take advantage of like everything that I was doing, like and to really understand / learn the objectives / goals of my particular organization, and then like really trying to make sure that's like eminent in all the work that I was doing. Another thing I guess that was like a point of learning was like also before you go to your impact fellowship, you have, your internship, the actual part of going, the fellowship is like 7 months long, but before you actually go, you have also, a lot of people have independent projects that they would like to work on in tandem with like their actual internship. And so like making sure like that you prioritize like the work that your organization is asking you, or finding a way to communicate to your supervisors or managers to help you kind of come up or create a schedule that allows you to fully utilize and maximize what you want to do.
Thank you for those questions. We have about 10 more minutes. It looks like there are no more questions. So if you have any closing remarks or anything else you fellows would like to add, please do.
Okay, I guess I'll go. I would say if you can, really get to know more about the Beeck Center and specifically the Impacts program. I come from the business school, and for the longest, I felt like I didn't have any opportunities that allowed me to match like my business skills, also my desire with social impact. And I'd always feel like, oh, like the business school only offers opportunities for like things that are like in the corporate world, which I'm like, if I do go in the corporate world, that's not bad as well. But like the Beeck Center really just helped me really position myself in the world and really helped me admire my skills in tandem with like what I've been learning in the academic classroom. And so the Impacts program not only helps you like go out into the world and work with these NGOs or organizations, but it also allows you as a Georgetown student to really take advantage of a space that is meant for students, that incubates student leaders, and that really teaches you about the different scales of social impact and like the different works that you could be doing. It's just really been it's been an eye-opening experience, but I would say, yeah, if you can, get to know more and hopefully apply.
I really identify with Lula just said. Actually, as a person from the SFS, I really thought that I would only be interested in the public sector and only be interested in those hardcore nonprofits. But actually, at the end of my fellowship, as I was talking with my boss and my colleagues and friends whom I met in Sarajevo, I actually realized that the business mindset applies everywhere. It actually applies to nonprofits as they fundraise, as they network in the international philanthropy community, and also as they establish their projects and cater it to the technological and financial needs of the community they're working with. So actually, I'd say, similar to what Lula just said, the G Impacts fellowship is really an eye-opening experience because it makes you very open-minded at the end of the journey. And like for now, probably you think like I speak Spanish, so I'd only be interested in Latin America, or I don't know anything about Eastern Europe or Africa, so probably I would just go to Asia. But I would say just really be open-minded at the very beginning of this application process. Speak with alumni from as many cohorts as possible, just to get to know what were their experiences, how is it like, and try to envision whether you will enjoy it yourself. And definitely communicate with Francesca and many amazing staff members in the Beeck Center, because they just know so much about this program and just all the spirits and principles behind this project and program. So I think if you will stay open-minded at the very beginning of this journey, it will benefit you and bring it to the end.
So it looks like we have one last question. And this is from, Arkoff again. What are the most important qualities that you think a student needs to succeed in the Fellows Program?
I know mine, but maybe I'll let the students go first.
Yeah, I can go. I would say I can't speak on behalf of all the cohorts and partnerships, because definitely like different regions, different working cultures and styles and different projects would require different things. But I think for me, based on my communications on Slack with and like communication with other fellows during de-orientation programs, for me personally, proactivity is a very, very important trait, because a lot of the organization that you'll be work with will expect you to come up with your own project idea or to work on whichever you see as fit for yourself and for the organization. So I think someone who has very sharp eyes, who is very open-minded, and who is very proactive in terms of doing research prior to the summer implementation process, and communicate with your organization probably 1 or 2 months prior to your departure for a destination would really help. And even during the internship, proactivity will really help you to resolve a lot of problems that are still kind of up in the air. So I would say proactivity is definitely a big one.
Yeah. And then for me, along with proactivity, also like making sure you're going to take initiative a lot of times is like someone who can take self-initiative and really learn how they can best serve others. I think a really important trait or characteristic of someone who wants to go out into the social impact realm is that you have to really be willing to serve others, and then also learn a lot about yourself and the tools that you can help provide to others, because a lot of these organizations are looking for people who are entrepreneurial spirited, or who are willing to learn about them and then help them reach those goals. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Great. And for me, I would just say flexibility is my number one. In the past, we've listed the partners based on the projects that you might do, but we've come to learn that once you get into the summer, so what an organization thinks you might be doing in November can change drastically by the time you get there in May or June. So we're no longer listing specific projects that you'd be doing, but rather the program areas. So you should really just be passionate about the mission that the partners you're looking into has, and just be open-minded that once you get there, you'll need to have patience and work with your team to get a feel for the organization and their needs, and then take those first 2 weeks to really develop a project plan before you just jump in and start trying to implement change. So really just think about that. I think another really important tool is resiliency. I think that's something that you also learn through the program, but you should just be open-minded and know that there's going to be challenges and fears and culture shock, but we're here to support and guide you through it. And at the end, you're going to go through this transformative experience and hopefully come out with a clearer idea of what you want to do and how you can be impactful to your world. Great. So that's all for the questions. Thank you so much, Lula and Joy, for joining me. Again, please sign up for the Impacts Interest newsletter. I'll be sending out everything through there primarily. Applications open Friday. They close January 10th, but please just start the application. You can save and come back to it later. Open it, get a feel for it, and come to any of us with your questions. Thank you.